When it comes to telephone calls, nobody is listening to your telephone calls. That's not what this program's about.
And I want you to know I believe everything he's telling us. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. President Obama in California today. Joining us now is our friend Peter Brooks, Senior Fellow for National Security Affairs at the Heritage Foundation and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense in the Bush administration. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Always great to talk to you. Before we get to your great piece about the summit in Sunnylands, California, let's talk a little bit about the revelations, the NSA, the FBI secretly mining data, including phone records and other records. What's your take on that? Because every Republican so far that I've heard comment on it basically says it's okay.
Well, I mean, I'm okay with it too, quite frankly. The fact is that we're living in extraordinary times. We have to do the best we can to protect our civil liberties. That's very important to us. But my sense is, and Steve, I'm not a lawyer or a constitutional scholar, but people I talk to says that the program is legal. It's constitutional. It's reviewed regularly by Congress and the courts, and it's necessary for our national defense. I mean, there's a risk of doing nothing. We're hearing, we haven't all the details. This is still breaking news. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot over the weekend. But this stopped at least one terrorist attack, the one that was going to be in the New York subway system that was hatched from overseas through Aurora, Colorado. And we don't know exactly what else is out there. My sense is that, look, people they're alarmed, and they have a right to be alarmed. They need to know more about it. Of course, I'm mortified that this program was exposed to the bad guys. I'm really kind of
Absolutely.
Like, wow, they're going to figure out all of this sort of stuff. I mean, these slides that were in the Washington Post this morning, which somebody broke the law and gave them out. I mean, if you're a whistleblower and you don't like the program, there's ways of doing this, such as going to a cleared member of Congress, to a cleared committee. But, putting it in a newspaper, Al-Qaeda, the Russians, the Chinese, the North Koreans, the Iranians are going to be reading and sucking this up.
I couldn't agree with you more.
So I'm comfortable with it. I think the only people they don't have, the problem is where's the knowledge and information, okay? And this is voluminous information. They don't have the time to read about you sending a birthday card to your Aunt Tilly. The fact here is they're trying to do what's called link analysis, is tie in other pieces of information they have. Say if they got a hold of a cell phone with some numbers in it, they want to know who they're talking to here. There's laws within the intelligence community too, Steve, that protects American citizens from intrusion on their privacy.
I think the problem is, one of the problems, at least, Peter, is that it's coming on the heels of this IRS, and
sure,
and and it's like you hear Obama saying, "Don't worry, no one's listening to your phone calls," and you say to yourself, or at least the average person does, "Yeah, sure, right."
Right, I understand it completely, and I'm not a fan of Obama, as you know.
No, I know that, sure.
But I coming down on this, my view is from a national security standpoint. As a national security expert, I'm not a constitutional scholar or a lawyer.
Right, no, I hear you.
Is that this is really important. We can't forget what happened in Boston. We can't forget the other 50 terror plots we had here in the United States since 9/11, and of course we can't forget 9/11. And the problem is that the president's all over the place.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You can't stick somebody's head under the water to prevent a terrorist attack when we have a known terrorist in our custody, and you can't, as the FBI, say jihad to a suspected terrorist, but they're willing to get the phone records of every American citizen. That gets me.
2 weeks ago, he said the war on terror is over.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's going on here? There's the issues of deception about being disingenuous with the American people is, one thing. So I understand why people are really, frazzled about this.
Right.
But I worked in the intelligence community. I actually worked when I was in the Navy with NSA, so I kind of get a sense of what they're doing, although I have no insider information. I haven't seen what they're being approved. But my sense is that this is a necessary program to keep us safe.
All right, let's move on to your piece in the Boston Herald and called China Syndrome, U.S. Issues Build. The president and the Chinese president are going to meet. They're going to have a series of summits, a series of talks. Michelle Obama's not going, or not there, which is she'll be conspicuous by her absence. Traditionally,
I think Xi's wife is coming.
Yes, and that's a problem. So we only have a couple of minutes. So fill me in here on what the biggest points of contention are here.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is being held at a place called Sunnylands, and I point out that there's nothing sunny about this summit. There's lots of problems. The cyber issue, we're talking about cyber here. They're going to be talking about that. And it's a shame that this, important meetings being shadowed by this other stuff, because
Right.
it really is important. This is one of the most important relationships in the world. Their military buildup, I mean, it's going gangbusters. The question is, are they trying to push us out of the Pacific? Maritime disputes, the Chinese are making all sorts of claims out in the East and South China Seas, which conflicts with some of our allies, such as Japan and the Philippines. On trade, we have a huge trade deficit. They're stealing our intellectual property by cyber and other means. Our companies don't get access to the Chinese market. The rule of law is an important issue in China. In case they don't, our firms need to go to the courts. They don't really have.
Let me ask you one other question, and we only got less than a minute. The Sprint deal, where the Japanese company with the ties to the Chinese technology is apparently going to go through. How do you feel about that?
Well, I was concerned about it, but CFIUS looked at this court that looks at these sort of things, and they seem to think it's okay. But we got to be cautious about Chinese telecom equipment getting into the U.S. system, because they may be filled with viruses that could, allow them to.
So, having said that, how could they sign off on it?
Well, I don't know that they must have some, based on intelligence information, they must believe that the threat is not there.
All right. Peter Brooks, Senior Fellow for National Security.